This is Christopher Tapp. Christopher was imprisoned in 1998 and coerced by police to admit to a crime he actually never committed. The rape and murder of Angie Dodge. Do you know what happened to him? He was falsely threatened with a death penalty. They told him if he didn't falsely admit to committing this crime, they were going to give him the death penalty. So he falsely admitted committing this crime, the brutal rape and murder of her. He spent 20 years behind bars in Idaho before he was finally exonerated. However, just like most of us in the Idaho 4 case, Angie's mother was not buying that Christopher was the one that committed this crime. So she asked them to reopen the investigation, and when they did, you won't believe what they found. Upon reopening the case, they actually found out that Brian Lee Dripp Sr. was the person who committed this crime. He said his entire goal was just to go and sexually assault her, but in the end, he ended up unaliving her as well. Christopher spent 20 years behind bars for a crime that he didn't commit. When he got exonerated, he was ordered to have about a $20 million payout, and then ironically, he gets unalived too. After he gets out of prison and gets exonerated for this crime, and the city's supposed to pay him for doing 20 years of his life for being falsely coerced into taking a plea deal. Otherwise, he was going to get the death penalty for a case he didn't commit. Just like I said in my past video where everyone said I was, crazy for saying that. This stuff happens, guys. This happens all the time. He literally did 20 years for a crime he didn't commit. They found the real unaliver, and then he still got unalived. And he was from Idaho as well. I want to point that out too. That's why we have things like the Innocence Project. That's why in 2016, around 2,500 people were exonerated for crimes they never committed. This is what I mean. They will coerce you into saying something that you didn't mean to say, just like Brendan Dassey from the Making a Murderer documentary. They held that young boy, he was 16 years old, in a confession room until he said exactly what they wanted him to say. They wouldn't let him leave. And then he didn't even realize that he was never going to be able to leave after that. He went straight to prison, and he's been in there ever since for a crime that neither of them people committed. Stephen Avery did not unalive Teresa Halbach, and there was more than enough evidence to prove that too, like the fact that they needed her keys, and then on the 19th day of the investigation, they were supposed to leave within 20 days is how many